Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a brief game to share with you from 1948. On the white end, Viktor Korchnoi, a 17-year-old Viktor Korchnoi, against 11-year-old Boris Spassky. All right, we have an open Sicilian, dragon variation, and f4, the Levenfish variation. Nearby, there's an idea to give the knight a shove with e5. Black continues here with bishop g4. What's considered best here? Develop the knight, increase the pressure on d4, and also have an eye on the e5 push. Okay, the young Spassky deploys the light square bishop, and the reply here is bishop b5 check. Now, a perfectly healthy reply to this move is bishop e2, welcoming a light square bishop exchange. Things are cool here for white, to be sure. White has a different plan in mind. Notice moving the queen here to d2 or d3 would interfere with one of the bishops. So what's Korchnoi's idea? Well, by inserting this check, white's going to essentially look to play against this guy here. Going to try and demonstrate that it's sort of overextended. Now, this next decision here by Korchnoi, I found interesting. The knight on d7 is pinned. In general, you shouldn't be capturing a pinned piece, unless you're provoked with, let's say, a6. But we have this voluntary capture now, in this case, with bishop captures knight. Another move that you could play here considers queen d3 as a best move. Why does Korchnoi capture the knight? Well, let's see. It actually turns out to be pretty good for him because of Spassky's reply. It seems perfectly normal what black does here. Spassky takes with the queen. This is a step in the wrong direction, surprisingly enough. We're going to see that this guy is going to be in some sort of trouble after queen takes bishop. What the computer wants to play here is bishop captures bishop. Note in this position, black would not have to fear e5. Black can take and then target the e5 pawn. If white tries to defend e5 in this position with queen e2 or bishop to f4, black can increase the pressure by simply developing. Also, no, in this position, the tempting e6 move, interfering with the bishop's development of the knight, is not winning a piece for white because black can capture on e6. And now black is in a spot to meet knight takes bishop with first queen takes queen, and only then the recapture. At the end, the knight on g4 is safe. Okay. In this game, no recapture with the bishop. Develops a new piece, maintains this threat against the queen. Follow up now, queen d3. And this is where you start to recognize this guy here is a bit off, potentially trapped. h3, you back up here, g4, black has to give up a minor piece. In the game, Spassky plays e5. This is one of the best moves. If you don't play e5 and let's say routinely play bishop g7, continuing to develop, here's how black can run into trouble. h3, you get trapped after this. And bishop e6, there's f5. This bishop continues to get bothered. And put on a few more moves to show you. This position here is considered excellent for white. Down a pawn, but look at the rook activity. I even took this out a bit further after queenside castles. There's some kind of fancy pawn storm with b4, a4, giving up a pawn, playing b5, further bothering this light square bishop. Okay. Black in this game plays e5, challenges the knight, challenges the pawn duo. The reply here is knight f3. This is considered best. If white first takes on e5, this is essentially saying I'm welcome to an endgame. We're going to have a queen exchange if you kick off with this capture on e5. What just happened there? White exchanged the 4th rank pawn for black's 3rd rank pawn. What does this mean? This bishop's eyes are now extended a few squares, and the queen can also see a couple more squares. After knight f3 in this position, we get a queen exchange. In general, good news to have an endgame position here. Good news for black, given that these two guys are still around. Bishop pair very strong in this position. Okay, in this case, no capture. The tension is maintained. Knight f3. And now there's pressure on e5. What do you do about this? Black removes the knight, and then we have the recapture. What's considered best is to play a gambit line. Computer says just develop the bishop and be okay giving up a pawn. Where would black's compensation be in this position? Well, this guy here. No black pawn on e5. The bishop's now in a completely opened diagonal. I imagine these are ideas in a position like this, focusing on that e5 square. All right. In this game, we have bishop captures knight, queen captures bishop, x-raying the f6 knight. Now there's the idea to take on e5 and just win a piece. Okay, we have a blunder now. Black in this position plays queen g4. What's considered best? Once more, developing. Even with this best line, it would still be very good for white. Position like this, for instance, a strong knight on e5 is right around the corner. Idea is to give up the bishop for knight, and this guy can't be removed. Okay, not a direction we go. Queen g4 in this game, and pop quiz. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, final move here. Knight d5. Black resigns. I'm not sure how much time was spent here by black before resigning. Why did he resign? Well, let's consider some important lines. If black continues here, white would not be recapturing right away. White would instead insert in-betweener move 1 of 2. Knight takes knight check. And after the counterpunch, in comes in-betweener 2 of 2 with check. At this point, it wouldn't matter if the king steps up to put pressure on the knight. The knight's defended here. In this position now, we recapture on f3, and in the end, we're up a full piece. Okay, let's consider something else for black. What about queen h4 check? That's not going to cut it. g3, and now there's 2 problems to work out. White will soon win material. Anything else? How about bishop g7? Nope. Knight takes knight check. Queen takes queen, up a full queen. Okay. Are we there yet? Not quite. How about queen e6? Nope. Massive fork. Queen is a goner. All right. What's a lesson to take away from this brief game? Well, before black plays this move queen to g4, black really needed to double, triple check something. The defender of the queen. Is the defender stable? Can it be deflected? Is it vulnerable? It's especially vulnerable in this case. It's unprotected. Black is that much more tactically vulnerable because it is unprotected. Now, believe it or not, there is another lesson to really take away from this game, a sort of hidden lesson to this brief game. I believe Spassky resigned here prematurely, thinking that white would win material one way or the other. Now, white is winning here, but black doesn't have to give up material. There is one move here for black where material is balanced. White is still crushing positionally, but material can remain balanced. With what move, though? I wonder if you can spot it. What's the one move here for black that maintains material equality? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, here's something to think about. If this knight is not captured with check, what does this mean? Black is indirectly there defending it. Black has this resource of queen h4 check, and the queen's ready to recapture on f6. So let's consider something. Let's consider moving the king to a square where knight takes knight is no longer check. So for example, suppose queenside castles. Well, that actually doesn't work. Queen c3 would be there, and now either the king or queen will be won. Two options here for black. If you go to b8, it's a mate in 3, check, check, checkmate. And if you go to d7, well, you lose the knight and the queen. Anything else? Here's the best move. King to d8. The king on d8 doesn't allow knight takes knight with check, doesn't allow queen c3 with check. And now black is in a spot to meet knight takes knight with queen h4 check, and you get the piece back. Let's consider that line and just one more. So if white continues here with knight takes knight, we give the check, we take the knight, again, completely winning here for white, but at least material is balanced. What's considered the best move in this position after king to d8? It says go ahead and exchange queens and then give this knight a kick to its only safe square on the edge. A position like this is completely crushing here for white, but at least, again, material is balanced. I believe Spassky resigned thinking he was going to lose material in this position right here, but that is not the case with this one. King to d8, and at least you could play on with balanced material. So a lesson to take away from this one as well. Maybe don't be in a rush to resign. I'm not sure how much time he spent considering this final position. Make sure you've considered all possibilities and don't underestimate the value of a check. There is this resource. In this case, a queen h3 is there indirectly defending the vulnerable defender, the knight, on f6. Anyhow, what are your thoughts with this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.